Okay, thank you. Well, here's a story that was told to me by my a teacher. I've told this story before. I've told all these stories before. Let me see. Let me have a look over here. Let me have a look over here. Okay. Yeah. All right. So we were talking about just now about when the essence name of God is revealed, then there's going to be total surrender to God. People won't think about themselves. They'll only think about this. Okay. So the story is like this. Once there was a king, and the king loved to hunt. And the king went on a hunting expedition with his entourage. And the king was a very excellent hunter. And he spotted a fox or a boar or something like that. And he set off for the chase. And he shot his arrows or his gun, whatever weapon he had. And he barely hit the animal, or he wounded it, and the animal was running, and he ran after the animal. The animal was jumping, and he jumped, and the animal was going, and he went into the water and through this and this. And finally, he caught up with this fox or whatever it was, and he was very happy. And he put it, but he noticed it's starting to get dark, and it was such an excellent, what is it called? Questionnaire, a horse rider. What is it? There's a word for that. Anyway, he was so expert at riding horse that he totally left all of his friends, his accompanying friends with all of his soldiers and his bodyguards and everything, that he left them behind. Doesn't know where they are. So he yells out, hello, hello, no answer. So he has this little horn that he blows, doot, doot, and they know where he is, and they come to his help. So doot, doot, he blows the horn, nothing happens. He blows the horn a couple more times. No, it's starting to get dark, it's starting to get cold. It's starting to get dark and starting to get cold, and the wind is blowing, and the wolves are howling, and he hears some growling, and he starts to think, 1 second, I'm out here in the middle of nowhere. And if I sound this horn, I mean, I've already sounded it like 10 times. There's also thieves over here. There's also all sorts of undesirables and dangerous things. And what's he going to do? Now it's starting to really get cold, and it gets dark, and it's like in the beginning of the month. There's no moon, and he's going with this horse, and he's really starting to get worried. And he forgets the way where he came from. It's a cloudy day, whatever. He can't see the moon, can't see the sun, whatever. He can't see and he can't see the stars. Anyway, there's no way that he can navigate where he is, and he didn't put his mind to notice where he was going, some sort of landmarks or something like that. So he's going. Now he starts to really get worried, and the howling of the wolves are getting closer, and he thinks he's imagining hearing the bears growling. Suddenly, he sees a little hut in the middle of it. So he gets off his horse, ties his horse away, goes in the hut, looks in the window, and he sees there's an old man sitting there, and he's learning, a Jewish man with a long beard, and he's reading from a book, and his wife is sitting there knitting or something, and he's cold, like his bones are already cold. He goes to the door and he knocks on the door, and he says, let me in. So the man says, listen, if you're thieves, I haven't got anything to steal. If you want me to help you, I'll help you. And he opens up the door, and the king falls down. So he takes the king, and he doesn't know it's the king. The king took his crown and he put it where his horse is hidden. He hid his horse. And he comes in and he warms the king up, and he gives him some, hot soup or something, and a little course of vodka, and puts him near the fire and gives him a place to sleep. The king wakes up the next morning, and he says, thank you very much. You saved my life. I want to give you a gold coin. And the old man says, no, you don't have to. I have everything I need. I have some money. I used to be a woodcutter. I saved money up. And what do I need? Anyway. And, thank you very much. I did a good thing. I helped the person. So the king said, you sure you don't want to take this money? He says, no, I won't. What do I need the money for? Give it to the poor people. Give it to poor. You can give it in my name. So the king said, okay. So he goes back. Where are you going? So the king says, don't worry about it. I'll take care of it. He goes outside, jumps back on his horse, goes back to the castle. The next day, a big, huge carriage, a royal carriage, rolls up in front of the house of this old man and his wife in the middle of the forest, with four, huge white steeds and soldiers all around. And one of the soldiers knocks on the door. It says, your name, sir? Says, my name is Yehuda Barkovich. Says, Yehuda Barkovich. Very good. You have been ordered by the king. The king wants to see you. So the king wants to see me? What would the king want to see me? He says, you're the only house that's in. The king told us to find this house in the middle of the forest. You're the only one. You're living here with your wife, right? Alone? Yes. old man, Jewish guy, white beard. He says, yeah, that's me. He says, well, the king wants to see you. No mistake. So he says, okay, I don't understand this. So he gets dressed up nice. His wife gives him a couple sandwiches that he can go, and they take him to the king. And they go into the king. They open up all the doors, and they're sounding the trumpets. And he comes in, and then they take him out. They help him out of the carriage, and they walk him into the royal the royal room. And there's the king sitting on a throne, elevated throne, and all of his people are around him. And the king says, approach. He approaches the king. He says, yes, your majesty, can I help you? He says, your name is what? Ivanovich. You have been chosen from all of the people in the kingdom. I've sent messengers and spies around. You have been chosen from all the people in the kingdom. You are to be an honest man. Says, well, I try, your majesty. So therefore, I want you to be my chief advisor. Your hours are going to be 5 minutes a day. You have to come just to see if I need anything. And your conditions will be you get a free housing, you and all of your relatives and all of your friends, whatever you want, for the whole rest of your life. And I'll give you a synagogue and all these other things, everything you want. But one thing, you have to change your religion. And he says, what, your majesty? He said, yeah, you have to change your religion. You have to change your religion. Your friends, they can be religious and things like that. You can bring, if you want, to Jews, but you can't be. I can't have a Jew as my advisor. You have to change your religion. Oh, I forgot to tell you, your wages. The wages are $1,000 a day. $1,000 a day for you and your whole family for the rest of your lives. Are going to be set up. Okay, that's all. Next, he says, your majesty, just one minute. I can't change my religion. I'm a Jew. I was born a Jew. I'll die a Jew. For me to be a Jew is the most important thing. I really appreciate your kindness, your majesty. He doesn't recognize that this is the king, that it was at his house 2 days ago. He doesn't recognize it. He says, I really thank you, your majesty, but I have to, I'm sorry, I have to say no. All of a sudden, the king sits forward in his throne, and his eyes are narrow slits, and you see that anger is written all over his face. He said, what? You refuse? What do you think? We are friends? You are my subject. I am the king. You will do as I say. You will change your religion, or all of a sudden 5 huge men appear with black hoods over their head. One puts a big block of wood on the ground. 2 grab his arm. One grabs one's arm. One grabs his other arm. One grabs both of his legs. The 5th one lifts up a sword, and he says, the king says, now either, and they pull him down on this block. And the one that brought the block stretches this guy's neck over the block. And he says, now either you change your religion or we're going to chop off your head. So he says, your majesty, I was born a Jew. I'll die a Jew. I'll live a Jew. I am a Jew and I cannot change it. Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. And the king says, he gives the motion, strike. And the person with the sword lifts up the sword and he strikes him. But before he hits his neck, he turns the sword on its side. And he doesn't really hit him with all of his power, just a little sort of a tap. But this fellow is so, nervous what's going to happen that he passes out. And he wakes up after 5 minutes and he opens up his eyes and he says, what's going on? This is heaven. This is the king. What's going on? The king says, please stand up. So do you recognize me? He said, your majesty, I don't recognize you. Please, why are you doing this to me? He says, have a good luck. He takes off his royal coat, takes off his crown. There's a big gasp goes out from the whole crowd. And he said, you were in my house the other night. He said, that's right. I was. And I wanted to give you a reward. And I saw you didn't want any reward. And I wanted to give you the biggest reward possible. And I remembered something. I remembered that when I was a young boy, as I was just a prince, a young boy, so my father told me to wander around the castle grounds and to look at the different people. There was all these different people. There was the cobbler, and there was the stalls, the people that worked with the horses, and then there was a tailor. And I went to all these different places, and I looked at the people, and I talked to them. But the tailor, he was a Jew, and he had a family. And I used to sit, and I remember he would talk to his children. They would learn the Torah. And I remember once he told his children that the most valuable thing for a Jew is to give his life for God. That's the most valuable thing. We can learn that by Abraham. Abraham took Isaac, his son, to sacrifice him on the altar. Abraham would have lost everything, his future, his past, and everything. But the greatest thing for a Jew is to do what God wants, even if it means giving your life. And I thought to myself, that is the weirdest thing I've ever heard in my life. We're thinking about all the time what we're going to get, that we're going to go to heaven and we're going to receive and we're going to get the reward and we're going to get the blessing. And here they're just thinking about what they can give, just to give to God. I said, that's a really strange people. That's a really strange religion. Now you help me, you save me. I said, I want to give you the biggest gift I can give. What's the biggest gift? I'm not going to kill you. Those people will say that whoever saves the king gets killed. So I figured, how can I arrange it to give you the biggest gift possible? So I arranged this whole thing that you're willing to give your life, not to leave your Judaism, but nevertheless you didn't. Now you can have all the riches, you can be my advisor, etc., without changing your religion. The essence of what Judaism is to be surrendered to the truth. Have a good day and a good Shabbos with Mashiach now.